boy shouts a phrase at the ceremony, and the groom turns his back to the bride without saying a word. Jennifer Parker's heart beat irregularly inside the wedding dress she had chosen with such care 6 months earlier. Beside Michael Thompson, the man she had met 3 years ago at a graduation party. She took a deep breath, waiting for the most important moment of their lives. That's when Father Richard asked the traditional question that echoed through St. Patrick's Church in Atlanta on that Saturday morning. The celebrant's deep voice cut through the solemn silence among the 200 guests awaiting the conclusion of the ceremony. If anyone present has any reason why these two should not be united in marriage, speak now or forever hold your peace. The silence that followed lasted only a few seconds, but felt like an eternity, until a child's voice tore through the air like an unexpected thunderclap. "He's my dad. Why is he marrying her?" A child's high-pitched voice echoed from the back pews of the church. All present turned their faces toward the sound, but Jennifer felt as if the world had stopped spinning. Her legs trembled, and she held the bouquet of white roses so tightly that the thorns pierced her skin through the lace gloves. Michael stopped breathing. His brown eyes, which minutes before had shone with happiness, were now glazed with an expression of absolute panic. He knew that voice. Even though he hadn't heard it in person for so many years, it had echoed in his dreams and nightmares ever since everything began. Without uttering a single word to Jennifer, without even looking in her direction, Michael turned his back completely to her. The steps he took toward the back of the church were firm and determined, as if an invisible force were pulling him away from the altar where he had promised to love and care for the woman who was now alone, trembling and understanding nothing. The sound of Michael's dress shoes echoed on the church's marble floor as he walked between the crowded pews. The guests whispered among themselves, some standing up to get a better view of what was happening. Jennifer's aunts fanned themselves nervously with the fans they had brought for the June heat, while Michael's cousins exchanged glances, unsure how to react. Jennifer covered her face with her gloved hands, feeling hot tears streaming through her fingers. The 3-meter-long veil, which her mother had worn at her own wedding 30 years earlier, now felt heavy as lead on her head. She could hear the murmurs growing around her, but couldn't process the words. Her world had collapsed in a matter of seconds. In the last pew of the church, a boy of about 8 years stood on the seat, his small hands around his mouth to amplify his voice. He wore simple khaki pants and a beige t-shirt that was slightly too big for his thin body. His light brown hair fell over a high forehead, and his eyes were exactly like Michael's when he was a child. The same honey color, the same intensity, the same almond shape that Mrs. Susan, Michael's mother, would recognize anywhere. Beside the boy, a woman of about 40 tried to make him sit down, but he dodged her hands. This was Rebecca Thompson, Michael's older sister, who had made the most difficult decision of her life a week earlier: to bring the nephew her brother didn't know about to the wedding. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing. When Michael reached the last pew, his legs weakened. There stood the boy he had dreamed of meeting for so many years, but whom circumstances and his own cowardly decisions had kept away. The child's eyes were filled with tears, but there was a steely determination in his upturned chin. "Daddy?" The boy's voice came out softer now, almost a whisper. "Is it really you?" Michael knelt in the church aisle, bringing himself eye level with the boy. His hands trembled as they reached out, but stopped mid-air, unsure if they could touch this child who carried his genes, yet was at the same time a complete stranger. How did you know I was here?" Michael asked, his voice hoarse with emotion. "Aunt Rebecca brought me. She said you were getting married and that it might be my only chance to meet you." Michael's eyes turned to his sister, who sat beside the boy with a face flushed with nervousness and determination. Rebecca had lost sleep for weeks, torn between keeping her brother's secret and doing what she felt was right for this child who deserved to know his father. "Rebecca, what have you done?" Michael murmured. "What I should have done a long time ago, Michael. This boy has the right to know his father, and you have the right to know your son." The word son echoed through the church like a second earthquake. The closest guests had managed to hear, and the information spread in whispers through the nave like waves across a lake. Mrs. Barbara, Jennifer's mother, who was sitting in the front row, felt a sudden dizziness and held onto her husband's arm. At the altar, Jennifer still hadn't moved. She could hear fragments of the conversation, but her mind refused to process what was happening. Michael had a son. How was that possible? They had dated for 3 years, lived together for 2. How had he hidden something so important? Father Richard, a man of 60 who had officiated hundreds of weddings, had never witnessed a situation like this. He approached Jennifer with cautious steps, his black robe swaying slightly. "My child, perhaps it would be better," he began to say. "No." Jennifer finally found her voice. "I want to hear. I want to understand what is happening." She turned toward the back of the church, her dress creating a whirl of white fabric around her. Even with her vision blurred by tears, she could see Michael kneeling before a child who had unmistakably similar features to his. "Michael!" Her voice cut through the church air. "Michael, look at me!" But Michael seemed hypnotized by the boy before him. His hands finally touched the child's small shoulders, and he felt a shiver run down his spine. This was his son. There was no possible doubt. Every feature of the young face echoed memories of his own childhood, of the photos his mother kept in old albums. "What's your name?" Michael asked, his voice almost inaudible. "Ethan. Ethan Thompson Wilson. Grandma always said my middle name was Thompson, just like yours." Ethan. Michael felt as if he had been punched in the stomach. That was the name he had suggested years ago in a casual conversation when he was still with Ashley. She had laughed and said it was too common, too simple. But apparently, when the time came, she had remembered the suggestion. "Ashley, where is your mother, Ethan?" The boy's face closed into an expression of sadness that seemed too old for his age. "Mommy isn't with us anymore, Daddy. She had to leave when I was little. Grandma Williams raised me, but now she's very sick and said I needed to find you." Michael closed his eyes, feeling the weight of 9 years of absence crashing down on his shoulders. Ashley had departed, but not before leaving their son with her own mother. He had tried to find them after he learned of the pregnancy, but they had disappeared without a trace. Or at least that's what he had believed. "Is Grandma Williams here?" Michael asked. Ethan pointed to an elderly woman sitting a few pews back, leaning on a wooden cane. Mrs. Williams was about 75 years old, with completely white hair pulled into a low bun, wearing a simple, dark fabric dress. Her small but piercing eyes were fixed on Michael with a mixture of disapproval and resignation. Michael slowly stood up and walked toward her. Each step seemed to last an eternity, and he could feel the stares of all the guests upon him. When he reached the pew where the woman was seated, he respectfully bowed. "Mrs. Williams, I didn't know." "Didn't know?" The woman's voice was firm despite her age. "Or didn't want to know?" The question cut Michael like a blade. He had tried to find Ashley when he found out about the pregnancy, but when his attempts were frustrated for weeks on end, he had given up. The truth was that deep down he had felt relieved. At the time, he was just starting his career as a civil engineer and didn't feel ready to be a father. "I tried to look for you. Tried for 2 weeks, according to Ashley. After that, nothing. Not a phone call, not a message. Nothing." Mrs. Williams' words echoed through the church, and some nearby guests could hear. The truth was beginning to reveal itself layer by layer, and with each revelation, the situation became more embarrassing for Michael. "Did Mommy have to run away because you didn't want to take responsibility, Daddy?" Ethan's voice came from behind, where he had stayed next to Rebecca. Michael turned to the boy, feeling as if he were being judged not only by those present but by his own conscience. "Ethan, it wasn't like that. It was more complicated." "Yes, it was," Mrs. Williams interrupted. "Ashley was afraid that you would want to take the baby away from her or force a marriage out of obligation. She preferred to disappear rather than see her son rejected." With each word from the elderly woman, Jennifer felt her heart breaking a little more. She had left the altar and slowly walked down the church aisle, her veil dragging on the marble floor. Now she was just a few feet from the group, able to hear every word of the conversation that was shattering her life. "Michael!" Her voice came out louder than intended, and everyone turned to look at her. "Michael, look at me! Now!" When he finally turned, Jennifer saw in the eyes of the man she loved a mixture of guilt, panic, and, to her surprise, a tenderness she had never seen before. It was as if something inside him had awakened upon seeing the boy. "You have a son," she said, her voice trembling. "You have an 8-year-old son and you never told me." "Jennifer, I can explain." "Explain?" Tears were now streaming freely down her face. "Explain what, Michael? That you deceived me for 3 years, that we built a life based on a lie?" Ethan looked at the woman in white with childlike curiosity. To him, she was just a pretty lady in a long dress who seemed very sad. He didn't fully understand what was happening, but he could feel the tension in the air. "Daddy, why is the lady crying? Was it my fault?" Ethan's innocent question brought silence over the group again. Michael knelt once more, coming down to the boy's eye level. "No, Ethan. None of this is your fault. You are the most important thing that has ever happened to me. I was just too cowardly to realize it before. Then why did you never look for me?" The simple question carried the weight of years of absence. Michael felt a lump in his throat that seemed impossible to undo. "Because I was very young and very stupid, Ethan. Because I was scared and made the wrong choices. But that's going to change now, I promise." Jennifer heard the promise and felt as if she had been slapped. She understood in that moment that she had lost Michael even before the ceremony ended. The way he looked at that boy, the instant dedication in his voice, all of that was new. It was a part of him she had never seen, because it had never existed. Michael was discovering he was a father at the same time she was. "And what about me?" Her voice came out in a whisper, but it was heard by everyone. "And our life, Michael, and our plans." Michael stood up slowly, as if every movement caused him physical pain. When he looked at Jennifer, she saw in his eyes a goodbye he hadn't yet managed to verbalize. "Jennifer, No." She raised her hand, interrupting him. "Don't say anything. I can see it in your eyes. You've already made your choice." The silence that followed was broken by the trembling voice of Mrs. Susan, Michael's mother, who had approached the group without anyone noticing. She looked at Ethan with tears in her eyes, immediately recognizing the familiar features. "My goodness, it's my grandson," she murmured. "Michael, this is my grandson." The confirmation from the paternal grandmother was like the final nail in the coffin of Jennifer's hopes. She watched as Mrs. Susan approached Ethan with trembling hands, gently touching the boy's face as if she couldn't believe he was real. "You have your father's eyes from when he was little," she said to Ethan, "and the stubborn chin of the Thompson family." Ethan smiled for the first time since he had cried out in the church, a shy but genuine smile that lit up his thin face. "Grandma Williams always said I looked like someone she couldn't show me. Now I know who." The interaction between Ethan and his paternal grandmother was too sweet for Jennifer to bear. She could see a family forming before her eyes, a family she was clearly not a part of. The weight of the wedding dress, the rings in her hand, all the plans they had made, became unbearable. Without saying another word, Jennifer turned her back and began walking toward the altar. Her steps echoed through the church nave, and the guests turned to watch her lonely walk. When she reached the altar, she stopped before Father Richard. "Father, I would like you to announce that there will be no wedding today." "My child, perhaps this is hasty." "There is nothing hasty about this." She removed the veil from her head with a firm gesture. "There is a child back there who needs his father. And I cannot compete with that, nor do I want to." Jennifer placed the veil on the altar and began removing the rings from her fingers. The jewelry that had been chosen with such care months ago now weighed like stones in her hands. Father Richard picked up the microphone with hesitant hands and addressed the guests who were waiting for an explanation. "Dear brothers and sisters, due to unforeseen circumstances, today's ceremony cannot proceed. I ask for everyone's understanding in this delicate moment." A murmur rose among the guests. Some stood up to leave. Others remained seated, trying to process what had happened. At the back of the church, Michael remained kneeling beside Ethan, but his eyes never left Jennifer. "Jennifer, wait!" He finally found the courage to shout. She stopped in the middle of the aisle but did not turn around. Please, let me explain." "There's nothing to explain, Michael." Her voice echoed through the church without her needing to shout. "You have a son. He needs you. I understand that. But I cannot. I cannot start a life with you knowing it began with such a big lie. But I love you." His words made Jennifer close her eyes and take a deep breath. She knew he was telling the truth. She could feel his love even in that impossible situation. But she also knew that love alone would not be enough to overcome the betrayal of trust. "I know you love me, Michael, and I love you too. But love doesn't erase the fact that you hid the existence of your son from me for 3 years. Love doesn't change the fact that I had to discover this at the altar, in front of 200 people, from the mouth of an 8-year-old child." Jennifer finally turned around, and when her eyes met his, Michael could see all the pain his omissions had caused. "You stole from me the chance to know this part of your life, Michael. You stole from me the chance to love this boy as my own son, if that were the case. You stole from me the chance for us to be a real family." Ethan, who had been following the conversation with the typical attention of children, stepped forward. "Daddy, did I make the pretty lady sad?" The boy's innocent question made Jennifer feel a pang in her chest. She approached him, knelt to his level and gently held his small hands. "No, sweetheart. You did nothing wrong. You just wanted to meet your father, and that's the most normal thing in the world." She looked into the boy's eyes, which were so similar to Michael's. "Your father loves you very much, you know. He just forgot to tell the right people." Ethan nodded seriously, as if he understood more than he let on. "Will the lady be okay?" "I will be okay, yes." Jennifer smiled through her tears. "And you will be okay too. Now you have a father, a new grandmother, and you'll be able to be very happy." She stood up and looked at Michael one last time. "Take good care of him, Michael. He deserves to have a present father." "Jennifer, please. Goodbye, Michael." This time, when she turned and walked toward the church exit, Michael did not call her again. He knew he had lost the right to try to hold her back. He watched as she walked down the aisle with her head held high, the wedding dress swaying around her feet, until she disappeared through the main door of the church. The guests began to slowly disperse, some approaching Michael to offer words of support or simply to try to understand what had happened. Others left in silence, whispering about the drama they had witnessed. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to leave a like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now, continuing. Rebecca approached her brother, who was still kneeling beside Ethan. "Michael, you did the right thing." "Did I?" He looked at her with red eyes. "I destroyed the life of the woman I love and traumatized a child who is innocent of any wrongdoing. You chose your son. It was what needed to be done." Ethan tugged on the sleeve of his father's suit jacket. "Daddy, can we go home now? Grandma Williams is tired and I'm hungry." Michael looked at Mrs. Williams, who had remained seated throughout the commotion, watching everything with a serious expression. "Mrs. Williams, can we talk? About Ethan, about what happens now?" The elderly woman leaned on her cane to stand up, refusing the help Michael tried to offer. "We can talk, yes, but not here. This is no place for a child to be listening to adult conversations." Michael nodded. He looked around the church, seeing the floral arrangements, the pews decorated with white ribbons, the altar prepared for a ceremony that never happened. All of it represented dreams and plans that had been destroyed in a matter of minutes. "Can Aunt Rebecca come with us?" Ethan asked. "Of course she can." Michael held the boy's hand for the first time. It was small and warm, and it fit perfectly in his. "We'll all go together." As the group headed for the church exit, Michael could see some guests still talking on the steps outside. He recognized some co-workers, distant cousins, college friends. They had all just witnessed the most embarrassing moment of his life, but also the most important one, the moment he met his son. Outside the church, the strong June sun beat down on the square where St. Patrick's Church was located. It was a striking contrast to the heavy atmosphere that had formed inside the temple. Ethan let go of his father's hand and ran a few meters ahead, seeming more relaxed now that they were in the open space. "Daddy, look at that big church. Grandma Williams told me you were going to get married in a beautiful church, but I didn't imagine it would be like this. Michael watched the boy exploring his surroundings with childlike curiosity. There were so many questions he wanted to ask, so many things he wanted to know about the 8 years he had missed, but he knew he would need to be patient. The child had just been through a traumatic experience, even if he didn't seem completely aware of it. "Ethan, do you want to get something for lunch?" Michael asked. "Can I choose?" The simple question revealed a lot about the life the boy had had until then. Michael felt a pang of guilt when he realized that Ethan wasn't used to having choices or being asked about his preferences. "So of course you can choose. What do you like to eat?" "Pizza," came the immediate and enthusiastic reply. "But Grandma Williams says pizza is too expensive and that it's not real food." Mrs. Williams, who had approached leaning on her cane, sighed softly. "The boy is right. Pizza isn't food to offer a child you barely know. We'd better go to a decent restaurant." "No, Mrs. Williams," Michael said kindly but firmly. "If Ethan wants pizza, we'll have pizza. He deserves to choose, especially today." The elderly woman looked at Michael with an expression that mixed surprise and assessment. It was the first time someone had questioned her decisions about raising Ethan, and she didn't quite know how to react. "All right, but you pay." "Of course I'll pay," Michael replied. "And by the way, Mrs. Williams, we need to talk about everything. About the money, about where Ethan will live, about school." "Am I going to live with you, Daddy?" Ethan interrupted, his eyes shining with hope. The question hit Michael like a bolt of lightning. He hadn't thought about the practical aspects of the situation. His house, which he shared with Jennifer, didn't have a room for a child. He knew nothing about raising children, about school routines, about medical care. But looking into those hopeful eyes, he knew he had no other choice. "If you want to live with me, Ethan, we'll figure it out." "I do." The boy's enthusiastic response made Michael smile for the first time that day. It was a small and hesitant smile, but genuine. Rebecca, who had remained silent watching the interaction between father and son, finally spoke. "Michael, are you sure about this? It's not just a matter of wanting to. Raising a child is a serious responsibility." "I know that, Rebecca, and maybe I'm not prepared. But this boy is my son, and I've already missed 8 years of his life. I won't miss another day." Mrs. Williams watched Michael carefully. All those years, she had built an image of him in her mind, an irresponsible young man who had abandoned her pregnant daughter. But the man in front of her seemed different from what she had imagined. There was determination in his eyes and a genuine tenderness when he looked at Ethan. "All right," she said finally, "but let's do this properly. With lawyers, with signed papers. Ethan is not a toy you can return if you get tired. I understand, and I won't get tired. Mrs. Williams, I know you have no reason to trust me, but I promise I will be the father Ethan deserves to have." Promises are easy to make, young man. The hard part is keeping them. "Then give me the chance to prove it." The group began walking across the square toward a pizzeria that Ethan had spotted across the street. It was a simple place, with colorful plastic tables and a hand-painted sign, very different from the fancy restaurants Michael used to go to with Jennifer. But at that moment, it seemed like the perfect spot. As they walked, Michael thought about Jennifer. She had probably already arrived home at the apartment they had shared for 2 years. She would be taking off her wedding dress, putting away the memories of a wedding that never happened. Maybe she was crying alone, or maybe she was with her mother, trying to understand how her life had completely changed in a matter of minutes. He knew he had deeply hurt the woman he loved. He knew that his past choices had destroyed the trust she had placed in him, but he also knew that if he could go back, he would do the same thing. Ethan was his son, and that reality changed everything. At the pizzeria, they sat at a round table near the window. Ethan chose a pepperoni pizza and was impressed when Michael said he could also order soda. It was clear that life with Mrs. Williams had been strict and frugal, with no room for small childhood luxuries. "Dad, do you have other kids?" Ethan asked while they waited for their order. "No, Ethan, you are my only child." "And are you going to have others?" The question hit Michael unexpectedly. Until that morning, he had planned to have children with Jennifer. They had talked about it, they had dreamed of having a family, Now that future had vanished and he couldn't imagine what his life would be like from then on. I don't know, Ethan. For now, I just want to learn how to be a dad to you. Grandma Williams said that maybe you didn't want to meet me because you already had a new family. Mrs. Williams looked down, embarrassed that the conversation had been brought up like that. Grandma was worried about me, Ethan, Michael explained. But she was wrong. I always wanted to meet you. I just didn't know where you were. Didn't Mom like you? The question came with the typical honesty of children, without filters or diplomacy. Michael looked at Mrs. Williams, seeking guidance on how to respond. Your mother and I, we were very young when you were born, Ethan. Sometimes when people are very young, they do things without thinking them through. Your mother thought it was better to raise you on her own. But she didn't raise me on her own. Grandma Williams raised me. You're right. Michael looked at the elderly woman with gratitude. Grandma Williams is the one who took care of you all these years, and she did a wonderful job. Mrs. Williams blushed slightly at the compliment, but kept her serious expression. I did what had to be done, but it wasn't easy. Raising a child at my age, with my small pension, it wasn't easy. I want to make up for that, Mrs. Williams. All the money you spent, all the hardship, I want to help. It's not about money, young man, it's about responsibility. Ethan is going to need you every day from now on, not just when it's convenient. I understand that. The pizza arrived steaming and with the cheese melted exactly as Ethan had imagined. His eyes sparkled with joy as Michael cut a slice for him. Can I eat with my hands? Of course you can. Michael laughed, remembering how he himself had been scolded as a child for eating pizza with his hands. That's how you eat pizza. While Ethan devoured his slice with childlike enthusiasm, Michael watched every move the boy made. The way he closed his eyes to savor the cheese, how he wiped his mouth with the napkin, how he swung his legs under the table. Every gesture was a discovery, a piece of the personality of the son he had missed getting to know. Ethan, do you like school? So-so. I'm good at math, but I don't really like English. And what do you like to do when you're not in school? I like to draw and play soccer in the building's courtyard, but Grandma doesn't let me very often because she says I might get hurt. Michael looked at Mrs. Williams, who was eating her pizza in silence. Maybe we can play soccer together. What do you think, Ethan? You know how to play soccer. A little. I used to play when I was your age. Can you teach me? Of course I can. The conversation continued naturally, with Ethan asking questions about his father and Michael discovering details about his son's life. It was as if they were trying to make up for 8 years of absence in a single afternoon. Rebecca, who had remained silent for most of the lunch, finally spoke. Michael, have you thought about what will happen when we go back home? Jennifer will be there. The mention of Jennifer's name brought back the reality that Michael had managed to momentarily forget. He would have to face the woman he had left at the altar, would have to get his things, would have to reorganize his entire life. I'll call her first. I'll ask her not to be there when I go to get my things. And then? Where will you live? I'll have to find a new place, a place with a room for Ethan. Daddy, is your house big? It's a medium-sized apartment, Ethan. But don't worry, we'll find a good house for the two of us. With a backyard. If you want, yes. With a backyard. The smile that lit up Ethan's face was the most beautiful thing Michael had seen in a long time. At that moment, he understood that all the changes he would have to make, all the sacrifices he would have to face were worth it if they could make that child happy. Mrs. Williams, Michael addressed the elderly woman, would you like to live near us? I can help find an apartment nearby so Ethan can visit you whenever he wants. I don't need your charity, young man. It's not charity, it's family. You raised my son when I wasn't present. That makes you family too. Mrs. Williams looked at Michael in surprise. She hadn't expected this consideration, this recognition of the role she had played in Ethan's life. I'll think about it, she said finally. After lunch, the group walked back to Rebecca's car. Ethan held his father's hand the entire way, as if afraid he would disappear again. Daddy, are you going to disappear again? The question came out of nowhere, revealing a deep insecurity the child carried. Never again, Ethan. I promise I will never disappear from your life again. Do you really promise? I promise. Michael knelt on the sidewalk and looked into the boy's eyes. Ethan, I know you have no reason to believe me. I know I wasn't there when you needed me. But from now on, things will be different. I will be here for you whenever you need me. To take you to school, to help you with your homework, to play soccer, to talk when you're sad. For everything. And if you get a new girlfriend? Even if I get a new girlfriend, you will still be my priority. You are my son, and that will never change. Ethan nodded seriously, as if processing very important information. Okay, I believe you. The boy's simple and absolute trust made Michael feel a huge weight of responsibility on his shoulders. He had been given a second chance, and he knew he couldn't waste it. In the car, on the way back to the city center, Ethan fell asleep in the back seat. His head rested on Mrs. Williams's shoulder, and he held tightly a napkin from the pizzeria where he had drawn a family of 3. Him, his dad, and his grandma. "Michael," Rebecca said softly, so as not to wake the child. "Are you sure you're ready for this?" "No, I'm not sure about anything, but I know I have to try." "And Jennifer?" Michael sighed, looking out the window at the streets of Atlanta passing quickly. "Jennifer. I lost Jennifer today, and it was entirely my fault. But maybe that's what had to happen. Maybe Ethan came into my life exactly at the right time." "You loved her." "I love her. I still do. But today I discovered there's a kind of love that's even stronger. The love for a child. And that love changed everything." Mrs. Williams, who had remained silent during the conversation, finally spoke. "The boy is right. A child changes everything. I saw it when Ashley found out she was pregnant. I saw it when Ethan was born. And I'm seeing it now with you. The question is, will you be strong enough to handle this change?" "I'll have to be." The car stopped in front of a simple building in the central part of the city where Mrs. Williams lived with Ethan. It was an old building with a facade of faded tiles and a gate painted green. Michael observed the place where his son had grown up, trying to imagine what his childhood had been like there. "Would you like to come up?" Mrs. Williams asked. "Can I see Ethan's room?" "Of course." Ethan woke up when the car stopped and was happy to realize his father wanted to see his home. He got out of the car excitedly, pulling Michael by the hand. "Daddy, come see my family drawing on the refrigerator." Mrs. Williams' apartment was small and simple, but very clean and tidy. It had 2 tiny bedrooms, a living room that also served as a kitchen, and a basic bathroom. The walls were decorated with photos of Ethan at various ages, from a baby to his current 8 years old. Michael stopped before each photo, trying to absorb the moments he had missed. Baby Ethan in Mrs. Williams's arms, Ethan taking his first steps, Ethan on his first day of school, Ethan blowing out birthday candles. A whole life that had happened without him. "This one is from my 7th birthday." Ethan pointed to a photo where he appeared smiling next to a small cake. "Grandma made chocolate cake. It was really tasty." "You like chocolate cake?" "I do, it's my favorite." Michael made a mental note. Chocolate cake. One more thing about the son he was discovering. Ethan's room was tiny, with a single bed, a small table that served as a desk, and a wardrobe with mirrored doors. The walls were decorated with drawings the boy himself had made, mostly depicting happy families or soccer players. "Are these your drawings?" "Yes. Grandma always keeps the ones I make. This one is a family." He pointed to a colorful crayon drawing. "There's the father, the mother, the son, and the grandma. And this one. This is Landon Donovan playing soccer. Grandma showed me some videos of him on the library internet." Michael observed the drawings carefully. They were typical of an 8-year-old child, with simple figures and bright colors, but they revealed an active imagination and a clear desire for a complete family. On the kitchen refrigerator was stuck the drawing Ethan had mentioned in the car. It was a simple representation of 3 figures, an elderly woman with a cane, a tall man, and a small boy. Below, in childish handwriting, was written, "My family." "Ethan, can you explain this drawing to me?" "It's me, Grandma Williams, and you. I drew it before I met you, imagining what you were like." "And how did you imagine I was?" "Tall and strong, so you could protect me." The boy's simple answer struck Michael deeply. During all those years, Ethan had fantasized about having a present father, someone who could protect him and take care of him, and now that fantasy was becoming reality. Ethan, I want you to know something. From now on, I will always protect you. Always. Even if I do something wrong? Even if you do something wrong, that's what fathers are for, to love you unconditionally. Ethan hugged Michael tightly, and he felt his heart filling with an emotion he had never experienced before. It was pure, unconditional, transformative love. It was a father's love. Mrs. Williams watched the scene from the kitchen with an expression that mixed satisfaction and concern. "Michael," she said when Ethan walked away to show more drawings, "I need to speak with you in private." They went to the small balcony of the apartment where there were 2 plastic chairs and some potted plants. "The boy is excited now, but you need to understand he has been through a lot of trauma. His mother's absence, my recent illness, the uncertainty about the future, all of this has left marks." "What kind of marks?" "He has a fear of abandonment. Sometimes he wakes up in the middle of the night crying, dreaming that he was left all alone. Other times he clings to me a lot, afraid that I will disappear too." Michael felt a weight in his chest, hearing about his son's suffering. "How can I help?" "By being consistent, doing what you promise, not creating expectations you can't meet. Ethan needs stability above all else." "I understand." "Mrs. Williams, can I ask you a question about Ashley?" "You may." "What happened to her?" "Ethan said she had to leave." Mrs. Williams sighed, looking at the plants on the balcony. "Ashley was always an unstable girl. When she found out she was pregnant, she was desperate. She said you wouldn't accept the child, that you would force her to do something she didn't want to do. So she decided to disappear. I looked for you. For 2 weeks. Ashley was very scared. When you stopped looking, she took that as confirmation that she was right. And then? Ethan was born here, at home. Ashley tried to take care of him for 3 years, but she didn't have the emotional strength. She drank too much, would leave the house for days on end, leaving the boy with me. One day, she just picked up a backpack and left, said she would come back when she was better. That was 5 years ago. 5 years ago, we haven't heard from her since." Michael processed the information in silence. Ashley had abandoned her son, but that didn't lessen his own responsibility. He should have looked harder, should have insisted, should have been more present. Does Ethan know the truth about his mother? He knows she left. He doesn't know about the drinking problems or the deliberate abandonment. To him, his mother simply had to leave. That's better for now. For now, yes, but one day he will want to know the whole truth. Michael nodded, understanding this would be another responsibility he would have to take on, protecting Ethan from the pain of knowing he had been abandoned by his mother. They went back inside the apartment, where Ethan was showing his school notebooks to Rebecca. "Daddy, look at my math grade. I got a 9. "Wow, what an excellent grade. You're very smart, Ethan." "The teacher said I have a knack for numbers, just like your father," Rebecca commented. Michael was always good at math too. Ethan smiled, happy to discover one more thing he had in common with his father. "Daddy, can you help me with my homework?" "Of course I can." "Actually, Ethan, we need to talk about school. Do you like the school you're at?" "Sort of. There are some boys who are mean." "Mean how?" Ethan got quiet, looking down. Mrs. Williams answered for him. "Some children pick on him for not having a father. They say he's an orphan." Michael felt a deep anger rise in his chest. His son had been bullied because of his absence. "That won't happen anymore, Ethan. Now you have a father, and anyone who picks on you will have to deal with me. Will you go to school with me? If you want, I can take you to school every day." "I want to." The boy's enthusiasm was contagious, but Michael knew he would have to completely reorganize his routine to keep this promise. His job as a civil engineer required long hours and occasional trips. He would have to talk to his boss, maybe request a transfer to a project closer to home. "Ethan," Michael said, "we're going to have to make some changes. I'll look for a new apartment for the 2 of us. I'll enroll you in a new school if you want. I'll reorganize my work to have more time for you. But I need you to be patient with me, okay? I'm learning how to be a father." "Okay, Daddy." I'll be patient." The boy's mature response surprised Michael. Despite his age, Ethan seemed to understand the complexity of the situation and was willing to cooperate. Rebecca looked at her watch and realized it was already mid-afternoon. "Michael, maybe it's better if we head back. You'll need to talk to Jennifer, get your things in order." The mention of Jennifer brought back the painful reality that Michael had managed to forget for a few hours. He would have to face the consequences of his actions, deal with the pain he had caused the woman he loved. "You're right, Ethan. I need to go take care of some things, but I promise I'll be back tomorrow. We can spend the day together. What do you say? Do you really promise?" I promise. "Can we go to the park?" "Of course we can." Ethan hugged his father again, and Michael felt as if he were saying goodbye to his son for the first time, even though he knew he would see him again the next day. "Mrs. Williams," Michael said, "thank you for everything, for taking care of Ethan, for bringing him to me, for giving me this opportunity." "Don't thank me yet, young man. Thank me in a few years if you manage to be the father he needs." "I will. I hope so." As they said goodbye, Michael wrote down Mrs. Williams' phone number and left his. He promised to call that same night to speak with Ethan before bed. In the car, on the way back home, Rebecca drove in silence while Michael looked out the window, lost in thought. "How are you feeling?" she finally asked. Confused, happy, terrified, all at the same time. "And what about Jennifer?" Michael sighed deeply. "I lost her. And maybe that was inevitable. You can't build a serious relationship based on lies, and I lied to her for 3 years. You didn't lie, you omitted." "It's the same thing, Rebecca. Jennifer had the right to know about Ethan. She had the right to decide if she wanted to build a life with me knowing I had a son. And now I need to focus on being the father Ethan needs. Jennifer, maybe with time she can forgive me. Maybe not. But Ethan needs me now." The apartment that Michael shared with Jennifer was in a modern building in the southern part of Atlanta. When they arrived at the building, Michael went up alone, asking Rebecca to wait for him in the car. The key trembled in his hand as he opened the door. The apartment was silent, but he could feel Jennifer's presence. Her bridal shoes were tossed by the entrance and the dress was thrown on the living room sofa. "Jennifer?" he called softly. "I'm in the bedroom." Her voice came out muffled. Michael walked down the hallway he knew so well, passing by the photos they had taken together, the memories of 3 years together. When he reached the bedroom, he found Jennifer sitting on the bed, still in her wedding makeup, but wearing a simple robe. "How are you?" he asked. "How do you think I am, Michael?" She wasn't crying anymore, but her eyes were red and swollen. There was an expression of deep exhaustion on her face, as if she had aged years in just a few hours. "Jennifer, No." She raised her hand, cutting him off. "I don't want to hear any apologies. Not now." Michael stood frozen in the bedroom doorway, not knowing what to do with his hands, not knowing what to say. "I came to get some clothes and to talk to you about how we're going to handle this." "How we're going to handle this?" She let out a humorless laugh. "There's nothing to handle, Michael. You made your choice, and I understand your choice. But that doesn't mean I have to accept it. Jennifer, I know I was wrong." "You weren't wrong, Michael. You lied. For 3 years. You made me believe I knew the man I was building a life with. You made me dream of a family that could never exist because you already had a secret family." Her words hurt more than Michael had ever imagined possible. "Ethan isn't a secret family. I didn't even really know where he was." "But you knew he existed." Jennifer rose from the bed, finally exploding. "You knew you had a son somewhere in the world, and you chose not to tell me. You chose to let me find out at the altar, in front of all my family and friends." "I was going to tell you." "When? On our honeymoon? After our first child was born? When, Michael?" He had no answer for that question because, truthfully, he had never planned to tell. He had buried the existence of Ethan so deep that sometimes he could pretend, even to himself, that it wasn't real. "I don't know," he finally admitted. "I don't know when I was going to tell you because I myself didn't know how to handle it." "And you thought the solution was to hide the truth from me forever." I thought if you never met, if Ethan was never a real part of my life, then there wouldn't be a problem. There wouldn't be a problem, Jennifer laughed again, a bitter sound. Michael, you're a father. That's not something that disappears because you ignore it. That's not something you can just set aside for convenience. Michael knew she was right. He had spent 8 years trying to live as if Ethan didn't exist, and all he had accomplished was missing the first years of his son's life and destroying his relationship with the woman he loved. I know I'm wrong, Jennifer. I know I hurt you deeply, and I know you probably will never be able to forgive me. But I need you to understand, when I saw Ethan today, when I looked into his eyes, something inside me changed. I can't pretend he doesn't exist anymore. And I never asked you to pretend. Tears began to stream down Jennifer's face again. If you had told me from the beginning, maybe we could have found a solution together. Maybe I could have learned to love that boy too, but you took that possibility away from me. The pain in her voice was almost unbearable for Michael to hear. Jennifer, is there any chance we could try again? Start over with the truth this time. She looked at him for a long moment, and Michael saw in her eyes a mixture of love and disappointment that broke his heart. I don't know, Michael. I really don't know. You destroyed my trust in you. And without trust, how do you build a relationship? We could try. And what about that boy? Is he going to accept sharing his father with the woman who was in his place at the altar? Is he going to understand that you chose to marry me instead of looking for him all these years? Michael hadn't considered that perspective. To Ethan, Jennifer could represent a threat, a person who had tried to steal his father. I don't know, but maybe with time. With time. Jennifer shook her head. Michael, you have an 8-year-old son who needs all your attention, all your love, all your dedication. He lost 8 years with his father. Do you think it's fair to share that attention with me now? The question hit Michael like a punch. Jennifer was right. Ethan deserved to have his father completely present, especially during these first months while they were getting to know each other and building a relationship. So that's it? He asked, his voice almost a whisper. I think it's better this way. She moved closer to him and gently touched his face. Michael, I love you. I still love you. But sometimes love isn't enough. Sometimes people who love each other need to follow different paths. Jennifer, take good care of him, Michael. He seems like a very special boy. He is. And be the father he deserves to have, the father you should have been from the start. Michael held her hand against his face for a moment, knowing it might be the last time she would touch him affectionately. I'm sorry for everything. I know you are. And I'm sorry too. I'm sorry things couldn't be different. They stayed silent for a few minutes, absorbing the magnitude of what was happening. 3 years of relationship, marriage plans, family dreams, all shattering because the foundation had been built on a fundamental omission. I'll stay at my mother's house for a few days, Jennifer finally said. You can come get your things whenever you want. I'll leave the key with the doorman. Thank you. Michael? Yes? If one day you can get your life together, if you can be truly happy with your son, and if there's still any room in your heart, maybe we can talk again. The suggestion brought a small spark of hope to Michael's heart, but he knew he shouldn't cling to it. The future was too uncertain, and he had a much greater responsibility now. Maybe, he said simply, now go. Your son must be waiting for you. Michael packed some clothes and basic personal items in a small suitcase, avoiding looking around too much at the apartment that had been his home. Every corner of that place carried memories of Jennifer, memories of a life that would no longer exist. When saying goodbye, they hugged for a long time, knowing that this hug carried 3 years of love and a lifetime of what if. Be happy, Michael. You too, Jennifer. You deserve all the happiness in the world. When Michael went down to find Rebecca in the car, he was different. There was a deep sadness in his eyes for the loss of Jennifer, but there was also a new determination, a clarity about what he needed to do from then on. How did it go? Rebecca asked. Painful, but necessary. And now? Now I need to find a place to live with Ethan. I need to completely reorganize my life. I need to learn how to be a father. Are you sure you're ready for this? Michael looked out the window, watching the streets of Atlanta moving quickly. Somewhere in the city, his son was waiting for him. An 8-year-old boy who had grown up without a father, who had been bullied for it, who had dreamed for years of the day when he would finally meet the man who had fathered him. I don't know if I'm ready, but I know I have no choice, and I know I want to be ready. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now, continuing. That night, Michael called Ethan as he had promised. The conversation lasted only a few minutes, but it was enough for him to hear the excitement in the boy's voice, talking about their plans for the next day. Daddy, I already set aside my drawings to show you tomorrow, and Grandma said she can make a chocolate cake if you want to try it. I would love to try Grandma Williams's cake. It's going to be the best day of my life, Ethan said, his voice full of anticipation. After hanging up the phone, Michael sat on the hotel bed where he had decided to spend the night, reflecting on how his life had completely changed in less than 24 hours. That morning, he was a man about to get married, with a stable career and clear plans for the future. Now he was a single father with a son to raise and a whole life to rebuild. But when he thought of Ethan's smile, the way the boy had held his hand, the absolute trust he had seen in the child's eyes, Michael knew he had made the right choice. Maybe not the easiest choice, but definitely the right one. The next morning, Michael woke up early and went straight to a real estate agency. He explained to the agent that he needed a 2-bedroom apartment, preferably near a good school, and that he was in a hurry. "When do you need it?" she asked. "Yesterday," Michael replied, and for the first time in a long while, he smiled for real. After visiting 3 apartments, Michael found the perfect place. A second-floor apartment in a residential building with 2 well-lit bedrooms, a spacious living room and a small backyard. The smaller bedroom had a window overlooking a park where the neighborhood kids often played soccer. "This one will do," he told the agent. "How long until it's ready?" "With the paperwork in order and payment up front, we can have it ready in a week." "A week is perfect." Michael signed the rental agreement and paid 3 months in advance, plus a security deposit and service fees. It was a significant amount that would affect his finances in the coming months, but he knew it was worth it. Next, he went to a children's furniture store. He had never imagined that one day he would be choosing a bed, a study desk, and a wardrobe for a child, but he found there was a special satisfaction in it. Every piece he chose was with Ethan's comfort and happiness in mind. "What color does the boy like?" the saleswoman asked. "I don't know," Michael replied, realizing there was still so much he didn't know about his son. "But I'll find out." When he arrived at Mrs. Williams's apartment that afternoon, carrying bags with new clothes for Ethan and a teddy bear he had bought on impulse, he was greeted by a radiant boy who ran into his arms. "Daddy, you came back." "Of course I came back, I promised, didn't I?" "You did, and I knew you would keep your promise because you have the face of a dad who keeps promises." Ethan's innocent observation made Michael laugh out loud for the first time since the day before. "The face of a dad who keeps promises? What does that face look like?" "It's a serious face, but one that smiles at the same time, like yours." Michael hugged the boy tightly, feeling a deep gratitude for having received a second chance to be a father. "Ethan, I have a surprise for you." "What surprise?" "I found an apartment for the 2 of us, with a room just for you and a backyard where we can play soccer." Ethan's eyes widened. "Really? Really? Do you want to see the pictures?" Michael showed Ethan the apartment photos on his phone, explaining each room and pointing out the park across from the building. The boy grew more and more excited with each picture. "And will I have my own bed?" "You'll have your own bed, a desk for your homework, a wardrobe for your clothes, and even some new toys." New toys. Michael opened the bags and showed the clothes he had bought. T-shirts, pants, new sneakers, and even an Atlanta United soccer jersey. "This jersey is for us to play soccer together," Michael explained. Ethan held the jersey against his chest as if it were the most precious treasure in the world. Can I put it on now? Of course you can. As Ethan ran to the room to try on the new clothes, Mrs. Williams approached Michael. You're doing things right, young man. But remember what I said. Raising a child isn't just about buying nice things. I know that, Mrs. Williams, but I want him to know that he has a real father now, and real fathers take care of their children. Yes, they do. Every day, not just on weekends. I will be present every day. And your job? I'll figure it out. Maybe request a transfer to a closer project. Maybe change my hours. I don't know yet, but I'll figure it out. Mrs. Williams nodded with approval. It was the first time she had seen real determination in Michael's eyes, not just pretty words. Ethan came back wearing the Atlanta United jersey, which was a bit big on him but made him radiant with happiness. Daddy, look how it fits. You look like a professional player. Can I play soccer with you now? Of course you can. Shall we go to the street? They went down to the street in front of Mrs. Williams' building, where there was a small paved area that the neighborhood kids used as an improvised soccer field. Michael had bought a ball on the way and the two started kicking it together. Ethan wasn't very skilled with the ball, but he had plenty of enthusiasm. He chased the ball with endless energy, trying to imitate the moves Michael showed him. Like this, Daddy? That's right. You're learning fast. Can you teach me how to score a goal? I can teach you everything you want to learn. As they played, some neighborhood children approached, curious to see who the man playing with Ethan was. The boy was visibly proud when introducing Michael. This is my dad, he said to a slightly older boy. He's going to live with me now. Your real dad? The other boy asked skeptically. You always said you didn't have a dad. Now I do. And he plays soccer really well. Michael felt a pang in his chest, realizing that Ethan had faced questions about his father's absence, even among the neighborhood children. But he also felt proud seeing how happy the boy was to finally say he had a present father. The improvised soccer game lasted almost 2 hours, with Michael teaching Ethan how to kick, pass the ball, and even do some simple dribbles. When they returned to the apartment, both were sweaty and happy. Mrs. Williams, Daddy plays soccer really well, Ethan announced as soon as they entered. That's good, boy. Now go take a shower because you're all sweaty. While Ethan was showering, Michael talked with Mrs. Williams about the practical details of the move. When are you moving? Next week, but I want you to know that you can visit Ethan whenever you want. And if you want to live closer to us, I can help you find an apartment in the same neighborhood. I already told you I don't need your financial help. It's not financial help. It's family taking care of family. You raised my son when I wasn't present. That makes you the most important person in his life after me. Mrs. Williams was silent for a moment, absorbing Michael's words. You've really turned over a new leaf, young man. Yesterday morning you were marrying another woman. Today you're talking about building a family with me and Ethan. Sometimes the most important changes happen suddenly. I spent 8 years pretending Ethan didn't exist. I won't spend another day doing that. And the young lady from the wedding, Jennifer? Michael sighed, feeling a pang of pain in his chest. Jennifer? I lost Jennifer, and it was my fault. But maybe that's what needed to happen for me to wake up to reality. You still like her. I still love her. But Ethan is my priority now. He lost 8 years with me. I won't let him lose another day. Ethan stepped out of the shower wearing simple pajamas, his hair still damp and his face flushed from the hot water. Daddy, can you tell me a story before bed? I can. What kind of story do you like? Adventure stories, but not too scary. Michael sat on Ethan's small bed, trying to remember the stories his own mother used to tell when he was a child. He made up a story about a brave boy who rescued animals in danger, and Ethan listened attentively, asking questions and suggesting details for the narrative. Daddy, Ethan said when the story ended, will you tell me a story every night? Every night you want. I always want to. Then it will be always. Ethan snuggled under the blanket, clutching tightly the teddy bear Michael had brought him. Daddy? Yes? I'm really happy you showed up. I'm really happy too, Ethan. Really, really happy. Do you promise you'll never leave again? I promise I'll never leave again. Even if I do something really wrong? Even if you do something really wrong. Daddies don't leave, Ethan. Daddies stay always, no matter what happens. Ethan smiled and closed his eyes, seeming satisfied with the answer. Good night, Daddy. Good night, my son. Michael sat by the bedside for a few minutes, watching Ethan fall asleep. It was incredible how that boy had completely changed his life in just 2 days. All his plans, all his priorities, his entire vision of the future had transformed. When he left the room, he found Mrs. Williams in the kitchen making coffee. Would you like a cup of coffee? Thank you. They sat at the small kitchen table, drinking coffee from antique porcelain cups that were probably older than Michael. Mrs. Williams, I want to ask you an important question. Go ahead. Do you think Ethan will be happy with me? Or is he better off here with you, in the life he already knows? Mrs. Williams took her time to answer, looking into the bottom of her coffee cup as if she could find the answer there. Ethan needs stability, Michael. He needs routine, security, to know he has someone who won't disappear from his life. If you can offer that, then yes, he will be happy with you. And if I can't? What if I find out I'm no good at being a father? Then you learn. Nobody is born knowing how to be a father, young man. We learn by doing, by making mistakes, by getting it right, by trying again. Did you learn that way with Ethan? I did, and mind you, I had already raised a daughter. But raising a grandson at 70 is completely different. Do you regret it? Raising Ethan? Never. That boy saved my life after Ashley left. Gave me purpose, gave me joy. If I didn't have Ethan to care for, I might have given up already. Michael felt a deep gratitude for that woman who had sacrificed so much for his son. Mrs. Williams, I would like to make a proposal. What proposal? I want you to be officially Ethan's grandmother. Not just by upbringing, but officially. I want him to have your last name too, if you accept. I don't understand. Ethan Thompson Wilson Williams. That way he carries the name of his father, his birth mother, and the woman who truly raised him. Mrs. Williams was silent for a long moment, clearly moved. You would do that? Of course I would. You deserve that recognition. And Ethan deserves to have that officially recorded. Then I accept. Michael smiled, feeling he had taken another important step in building a real family for Ethan. And about living closer to us? I'll think about it carefully. Maybe it would be good indeed. That way I can help with the boy's adjustment, and you can visit me often. Perfect. They talked for another hour about practical details. School, documents, doctors, clothes, toys. Each detail was a new discovery for Michael about the responsibilities of being a father. When they said goodbye that night, Michael felt more prepared for the journey ahead. It wouldn't be easy, but for the first time in his life, he had a motivation that went beyond his own needs. Ethan's happiness. The following week, Michael worked intensely to organize the move. He bought furniture, appliances, decorated Ethan's room with soccer posters and a study desk where the boy could do his homework. He also had a serious talk with his boss at the engineering office. I need a more flexible schedule, he explained. I have a son to raise now. A son, Michael, you weren't even married until last week. It's a long story, but the fact is, I have an 8-year-old boy who needs me. Fortunately, his boss was understanding and allowed Michael to adjust his schedule to be able to drop off and pick up Ethan from school. On moving day, Ethan was so excited he could hardly sleep the night before. He helped pack his own belongings, mainly the drawings and some simple toys he had. Daddy, can I bring all my drawings? Of course you can. We'll even make a mural in your new room for you to stick your favorite drawings on. Really? Really? The new apartment was perfect. Ethan ran from room to room, exploring every corner, trying out his new bed, opening and closing the drawers of the wardrobe. Daddy, is this room really just mine? It's all yours, and you can decorate it however you want. Can I stick my drawings on the wall? You can stick all the drawings you want. Ethan spent the whole afternoon organizing his room, deciding where to put each drawing, where to store his new clothes, where to leave the teddy bear. That evening, during the first meal they had together in the new apartment, Ethan asked a question that caught Michael off guard. "Daddy, do you miss the pretty lady from the wedding?" Michael almost choked on his food. He had expected Ethan to eventually ask about Jennifer, but not so soon. "Yes, I do. Why do you ask?" "Because you get sad sometimes when you think I'm not looking." The boy's sharp perception surprised Michael. Ethan was more observant than he appeared. "It's true. I do get sad sometimes. Jennifer is a very special person. But sometimes special people can't be together. Because of me." "No, Ethan. It wasn't because of you. It was because of the choices I made before I really knew you." "But if you hadn't met me, would you have gotten married?" Michael stopped to think about the answer. He wanted to be honest with Ethan, but he also wanted to protect him from feeling guilty about something that wasn't his responsibility. "Maybe yes, maybe no. But you know something, Ethan. If I had married Jennifer without knowing you first, I would always have wondered about you. I would have been sad not knowing what you were like, how you talked, what you liked. Now I know all that, and I'm very happy to know it." "So it was better this way?" "It was much better this way because now I have you and you have a real father." Ethan smiled, seeming satisfied with the answer. "Daddy, can we visit Grandma Williams tomorrow?" "Of course we can. In fact, how about we invite her to have lunch here with us on Sunday?" "Can she come?" "Of course she can. This is her home too now." The first months of their new life weren't easy. Michael discovered that raising a child was much more challenging than he had imagined. There were mornings when Ethan woke up grumpy, afternoons when he didn't want to do his homework, nights when he had nightmares and woke up crying. But there were also moments of pure joy. Like when Ethan got his first A at his new school and ran to show his father, or when he learned to kick the ball properly and scored his first goal on the park's little field, or when he said, "I love you, Daddy," for the first time, spontaneously, on some random Saturday morning. Michael also had to deal with his own insecurities. There were moments when he wondered if he was doing everything right, if Ethan would be happier with Mrs. Williams, if he really had what it takes to be a father. But little by little, father and son created a routine, built a relationship, and learned about each other. Michael discovered that Ethan liked pancakes for breakfast, that he was afraid of thunder, that he was very good at math but needed help with English, that he loved drawing superheroes and dreamed of being a soccer player. Ethan, in turn, discovered that his father knew how to tell funny stories, that he made the best mac and cheese in the world, that he got nervous when he got hurt, even if it was just a small scratch, and that he really wasn't going to leave, even when he threw a tantrum or disobeyed. 6 months after the move, Michael received an unexpected call. It was Jennifer. "Hi, Michael." "Jennifer, how are you?" "I'm fine. And you? How are things with Ethan?" They're good. Difficult sometimes, but good. He's an amazing boy." "I imagine he is." "Michael, I was thinking, would you like to have lunch with me on Saturday? I'd like to get to know Ethan properly." The proposal left Michael speechless for a few seconds. Are you sure?" "I am. I've spent these months thinking about everything that happened, and I realized I was unfair to both of you. Ethan isn't to blame for your shortcomings, and he deserved to be welcomed with love from the very beginning. Jennifer, you weren't unfair at all. You reacted exactly as anyone would. Maybe. But I want to do things differently now. I want to meet the child who changed your life. I want to understand who this boy is that made you discover what kind of man you really are." Michael felt a deep emotion upon hearing those words. "Ethan would really like to meet you. He sometimes asks about you." "He asks?" "He does. And I always tell him that you're a very special person, but that sometimes special people need time to understand things. So let's plan the lunch. But Michael, I don't want to create false expectations. I don't yet know what I feel or what I want. I just know I need to know this part of your life." "I understand, and Ethan will understand too." The following Saturday, Michael was more nervous than he had been on the day of the almost wedding itself. He explained to Ethan that Jennifer would come to have lunch with them, and the boy was curious and a little anxious. Is she really pretty, Daddy? Very pretty. And very smart, too. And does she like children? Yes, she does. In fact, she works with children. She's a teacher. That's cool. Maybe she can help me with English. Michael smiled, admiring Ethan's ability to see the practical side of every situation. When Jennifer arrived, wearing a simple dress and carrying a wrapped gift, Michael felt his heart race. She was as beautiful as ever, but there was something different about her. A serenity that hadn't been there on the wedding day. Hi, Michael. Hi, Jennifer. Ethan appeared in the living room, a little shy, but clearly curious. Ethan, Michael said, this is Jennifer. Jennifer, this is my son, Ethan. Hi, Ethan. Jennifer knelt down to be at eye level with him. I brought something for you. She handed him the gift, which Ethan opened carefully. It was an adventure storybook, exactly the kind he liked. Thank you. Did you know I like adventure stories? Your father told me. Jennifer smiled, and Michael saw in that smile the woman he had fallen in love with. The lunch was better than Michael had dared to hope for. Jennifer and Ethan talked about school, about soccer, about cartoons. She showed genuine interest in the boy's life, asked questions about his likes and his experiences. Ethan, in turn, was clearly enchanted with Jennifer. She had the natural ability to talk to children respectfully without being condescending. Jennifer, Ethan said during dessert, can you really help me with English? I'm not very good. Of course I can. If your father allows it, we can pick a day for you to come to my house and study together. Ethan looked at Michael with hope. Can I, Daddy? If Jennifer wants to help, of course you can. After lunch, while Ethan watched cartoons in the living room, Michael and Jennifer talked in the kitchen. He is really special, Jennifer said. Yes, and you know what's most amazing? He taught me more about myself in these 6 months than I had learned in my entire life. How so? He taught me that I am capable of loving unconditionally, that I am capable of putting another person before myself, that I can be responsible and present when it really matters. Jennifer was silent for a moment. Michael, can I ask you a question? Sure. If you could go back, would you tell me about Ethan from the beginning? Michael thought carefully about his answer. Yes, definitely yes, not only because it would be the right thing to do, but because maybe you could have learned to love him too. Maybe we could have built a real family, the three of us together. Yes, maybe we could have. But now I don't know. Michael, you've become a completely different man, more mature, more responsible, more complete. But I've changed too. I spent these months learning to live alone, learning to be independent, discovering things about myself that I didn't know. And is that good or bad? It's different, and maybe it's exactly what we both needed. Ethan appeared in the kitchen at that moment. Jennifer, do you want to see my drawings? I would love to see your drawings. Ethan ran to his room and came back with a folder full of drawings. He showed each one to Jennifer, explaining the stories behind the pictures, telling her about the inspirations and the techniques he had learned. This one is about a family that finds each other after a long time, he said, showing a colorful drawing with 3 figures hugging. It's beautiful, Ethan. You have a lot of talent. Thank you. Daddy always says my drawings are the best in the world. And he is right. When it was time for Jennifer to leave, Ethan gave her a hug. You can come back anytime, Jennifer. This is your home too. Thank you, Ethan. I would really like to come back. At the goodbye, Michael walked Jennifer to her car. Thank you for this, for giving him a chance. Thank you for letting me get to know him properly. He is really special, Michael. You're lucky. I know I am. And he is lucky too. He has a father who learned to truly love. Michael felt his eyes well up. Jennifer, do you think there's any possibility of us trying again? Now, with everything out in the open? Jennifer looked at him affectionately. Maybe, but if we try, it has to be different this time. It has to be the 3 of us, not just the 2 of us. Ethan is part of who you are now. I understand that, and that's what I want. A real family. Then let's take it slow. Let's get to know each other again, the 3 of us together. Let's see what happens. Will you have dinner with us next week? I will. That night, while putting Ethan to bed, Michael told the boy about the conversation with Jennifer. "Daddy, you like her a lot, don't you?" "I like her a lot." "And does she like you?" "I think so." "And did she like me?" "She adored you, Ethan. Anyone who meets you will adore you. So maybe we could be a family, the three of us together." "Maybe, yes, but even if that doesn't happen, the two of us are already a family, right?" "We are. The best family in the world." Michael smiled, kissed his son's forehead, and turned off the light. "Good night, my son." "Good night, Dad. I love you." "I love you too, Ethan. More than anything in the world." The months that followed were a time of slow and careful building. Jennifer began visiting Michael and Ethan's home regularly, joining them for dinners, helping Ethan with his studies, accompanying them on trips to the park. Ethan quickly grew fond of her, and Jennifer discovered she had a natural talent for handling children, especially that smart and affectionate boy who had transformed Michael's life. Michael, in turn, rediscovered his love for Jennifer, but now in a more mature and complete way. He was no longer the man who had hidden important secrets. He was a dedicated father, a man who had learned the value of honesty and responsibility. Jennifer had also changed. She had become more independent, more self-assured, more aware of what she truly wanted in life. And she discovered she wanted a family, but a family built on solid foundations of truth and mutual trust. Mrs. Williams, who had moved to a nearby apartment, watched the development of the relationship among the three with approval. She had officially become Ethan's grandmother and loved her new role in the child's life. "The boy is flourishing," she said to Michael one afternoon when he had brought Ethan to visit her. "He's more secure, more confident." "You did the right thing, young man." "I'm still learning, Mrs. Williams. Every day I discover something new about being a father." "That's how it is. But you're on the right path." A year after the day of the almost wedding, Michael, Jennifer, and Ethan were at the park playing soccer when Ethan asked a question that caught them off guard. "Are you going to get married for real now?" Michael and Jennifer looked at each other, smiling. "Why do you ask?" Jennifer said. "Because you look at each other like you're dating, and because Jennifer already has a drawer in our dresser." The two laughed at the boy's perceptive observation. "And would you like us to get married?" Michael asked. "I'd like that a lot. Then Jennifer would be my real mom, right?" Jennifer felt her eyes well up with tears. During those months of living together, she had developed a genuine love for Ethan, a love that had grown naturally and become one of the most important things in her life. "If that happens, Ethan, I would be very happy to be your mother. And I would be very happy to have you as my mother." Michael looked at the two of them, his improvised family that had become the most precious thing in his life. "Then I think it's time we start thinking seriously about that," he said. 3 months later, in an intimate ceremony in the garden of the house they had bought together, with a backyard big enough for Ethan to play soccer, Michael and Jennifer got married for real. Ethan was the ring bearer, carrying the rings with pride and responsibility. Mrs. Williams was in the front row, smiling with satisfaction at seeing the family she had helped form. Rebecca, Michael's sister, cried with emotion seeing how everything had resolved itself so beautifully. During the ceremony, when the officiant asked if anyone objected to the union, Ethan solemnly raised his hand. "I do," he said loudly, making everyone laugh. "What is it, Ethan?" the officiant asked, playing along. "I am sure they are going to be very happy together, and I'm going to be the best son in the world." The audience erupted in applause and laughter, and Michael felt that this was the most perfect moment of his life. When they kissed at the end of the ceremony, Ethan hugged them tightly. "Now we're a real family," he said. "We've always been a real family," Michael replied. "Since the day you shouted in that church and changed my life forever." 2 years later, when Ethan turned 10, the family had grown. Jennifer was pregnant with a girl who would be the little sister Ethan had asked for as a birthday gift. At the birthday party, in the backyard of the house where Ethan finally had space to play freely, he blew out the candles on the chocolate cake that Mrs. Williams had made especially for him. "I made a very special wish," he announced. "What wish?" Michael asked. "I wished for our family to keep being happy forever, and for my little sister to be as lucky as I am to have you as a father." Michael hugged his son, feeling deep gratitude for all the changes that boy had brought to his life. "Ethan," he said, "do you remember the day we met?" "Of course I remember. It was the best day of my life." "It was the best day of my life too, because it was the day I discovered what it really meant to be happy. And now I'm the luckiest man in the world. I have an amazing son, a wonderful wife, a complete family, and a future full of possibilities." Ethan smiled and hugged his father tightly. "Daddy?" "Yes?" "Thank you for not giving up on me. Thank you for finding me, my son, and for teaching me what really matters in life." That night, while putting Ethan to sleep in his room full of drawings, soccer trophies, and memories of a finally complete childhood, Michael reflected on how his life had completely changed. 5 years before, he was a selfish man who had hidden the existence of his own son. Today, he was a dedicated father, a loving husband, a man who had learned that true happiness came from loving and being loved unconditionally. "Daddy," Ethan said sleepily, "can you tell me a story?" "Of course. What story do you want to hear?" "The story of the boy who shouted in the church and found his father." Michael smiled. It was Ethan's favorite story, and he never tired of telling it, always adding new details and nuances. Once upon a time, there was a very brave boy who wasn't afraid to shout loudly when he needed to find someone very important. While telling the story, Michael looked through the bedroom window and saw Jennifer in the garden, watering the flowers they had planted together. She had her hand on her belly, talking softly to the baby that was coming. In a few months, they would be 4, a family that had been born from chaos, from mistake, from redemption, but that had become the most solid and real thing Michael had ever known. "And the boy and the daddy lived happily ever after," he finished the story. "Along with Mommy and the little sister," Ethan added, "along with Mommy and the little sister. And Grandma Williams, and Grandma Williams. And everyone they love, and everyone they love," Michael agreed, kissing his son's forehead. "Good night, my son. Good night, Daddy. I love you to infinity." "I love you to infinity too, Ethan, and beyond." End of story. Now tell me what you thought of this story and where you're watching us from. If you have anything to share with us, leave it in the comments with sincere words. Do you think Michael made the right decision? We love reading your opinion. Thank you so much for your company. Don't forget to leave your like and, most importantly, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss other emotional stories.